Welcome to the 2717 podcast. I'm Javier, an authentic wedding filmmaker.
And I'm Ashley, a passionate wedding photographer.
We're here to bring Proverbs 27:17 to the wedding industry. As iron sharpens iron,
so one person sharpens another. In this fun series, we're all about sharing experiences and building a community.
Expect heartfelt stories, creative inspiration, and some amazing behind-the-scene moments.
Plus, insights from some truly inspiring guests.
Tune in to connect with us, spark your creativity,
and be a part of a supportive community.
You're listening to the 2717 podcast.
Planning your wedding isn't just about choosing a venue, it's about finding the perfect backdrop for one of the most meaningful moments of your life. That's where Juliana Estate comes in. Nestled in the heart of Lakeland, this elegant estate gives you that classic scenic charm, like a movie set, but it's all yours. Think lush greenery, romantic gardens, and plenty of room for unforgettable moments with the people you love the most. It's a place where every detail feels personal because it's not just a venue. It's where your story begins. See how Juliana Estate can make your wedding day truly yours at julianaestate.com. Thanks for sponsoring today's podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 2717 podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Javi.
And today we are diving into the importance of being well prepped on a wedding day. So here are our 5 steps to help you have the best big day.
Tip number 1 is going to be take a day of rest.
It's crucial.
It's crucial. The day prior, just make sure you eat well, you sleep well, you hydrate well, do all the proper things an athlete would do, because technically you're like an athlete on these wedding days, man. Like, these are 12-hour days.
And maybe longer with the drive and the getting in there an hour early, and it's a long day.
It's your time to perform, right? Like, if you're a photographer, it's like, all right, I know I'm going to have to be communicating all day, talking to somebody, especially if you're an introvert and you're not used to that. Then, like, take the day before to recharge your batteries by just being alone and just not having to take any phone calls or client meetings. I know for myself, I'm kind of a hybrid between the two. And so throughout the week, I'm just quiet. On wedding days, I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to talk with my team, with the bride, the couple, the bridesmaids, groomsmen, all that good stuff, and just be present for them for their wedding day. So the day before, it's nice for me to recharge all my batteries by being quiet and just taking a day of rest, doing something I enjoy doing, whether it being doing a light exercise, a light stretch. That way you're feeling loose for the next day.
Yeah, that's so important.
So important.
I know. I feel like sometimes when I work out the day before the wedding too, I'm like super sore too. So like a light exercise, like maybe do like a nice walk or like something where you're just stretching out your muscles to get it prepped for like a strenuous day.
Don't do leg days the day before, though.
No.
Do not.
I will speak from experience. Terrible idea. Also, pack your snacks and pack your water. Make sure that you have enough snacks for the wedding day so that you feel recharged, because sometimes you don't have time to break for lunch. Actually, a wedding that we did not that long ago, we did have time to break for lunch, and I don't think I've ever had that at a wedding, and we ended up going to Wendy's, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So nice. We had so much extra time. So we were like, all right.
But it's very rare that actually happens.
So rare. So make sure to pack snacks, be extra prepared. And then even like that morning too, like have a slow morning, like, you know, restfully wake up, make sure that you're all prepped for the day. Like your outfit maybe is set out already. Your gear is all packed, like eat a nice breakfast, have a slow morning to kind of ease your way into a more fast-paced day.
Yeah. And that is going to transition us to point number 2, which is double check your gear the day prior. Always. Make a gear checklist. If you're not used to having a gear checklist, like make one. That way you don't have to put too much effort in thinking about it, and you already know what you have to bring. I think it's so much easier for photo than it is for video. I think for me, I tailor my gear depending on the couple, the logistics of the day, and what the style of film I'm going to create. And that's how I kind of go off of what checklist I need to create and do. But I do enjoy setting up all my gear, double checking everything, making sure I have everything there for the wedding days and planning ahead.
Yeah, I love making checklists for when I'm packing for a wedding day, because I make sure that everything is charged beforehand, the night before, the day before. I'm charging all of my gear and everything. And once everything is charged and put into my bag, I check it off my list. So as you go, so you're really making sure that you have absolutely everything you need, because if you forget one small thing, it could lead to a big mess up.
Yeah, and always format your memory cards the day before. That way you can double check and make sure that all the footage that was on that memory card prior is already backed up and saved up, and you don't have to stress about that. The last thing you want to do is show up at a wedding and you still have the previous wedding footage on that memory card.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
then what do you do?
no, yeah. It's very stressful, right? If
Yeah.
you don't got extra memory cards and you're limited to the ones that you bring, then that could be an issue in the future. So to avoid any, bad mistakes or that type of situation, go ahead and format those memory cards prior. Double check to make sure they've already been backed up within your systems, which you should have done a long time ago prior to the wedding, but you just left it there just in case. But again, format those memory cards right before a wedding.
Yeah, and I can speak from experience too of always like, how many times have you guys gone into a wedding day and your camera settings are still whack from the last the last session you had, which is me all the time. So another idea is to go through your camera settings, make sure that everything is the way that you like it on a normal wedding day. Because how many times do you open your camera and then it's like on the blurry setting and then you start shooting and you're like shooting all things blurry because mood.
It just happens.
It just happens.
It just happens.
So we want to get rid of all that.
Clean your lenses. Take the time to inspect all of your gear as you're packing it up into your cases. That way you can make sure that one, if something happened to your lenses or happened to your camera when it actually happened. Was it this wedding? Was it like a wedding that happened 3 weeks ago or whatever? Like, if you are consistent with one, having that gear checklist, inspecting your gear, cleaning your gear, then you're going to be able to know the condition it's in. And if something happens to it, you know when it happened, at which wedding.
Yeah. And that's your pipeline. That's
Exactly.
your pipeline to success. That's your tool that you need to get through the day. So making sure that everything is in working order and clean and no smudges, no scratches, nothing that can mess you up.
And then as you're going through and packing up your gear, you also want to make sure you check your settings on your camera, making sure that all the presets in terms of the menu and the settings are all correct. So that way you don't show up at a wedding, they start recording at 60 frames per second and capture no audio. And you're just like, oh man, you're stressed out.
Or you shoot in that blurry.
Yeah. That's happened in the past. So this is why you always want to check your gear, check your menu presets, making sure that everything is correct to start off the day. And that way you're just stress-free. You don't got to worry about the gear. You're just caring more about the creativity of the day and how that day is going, making sure it flows.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that too is like you want to organize your bag as best as you can for the wedding day and how the day is set up. So like if you need both of your cameras right away, then you're going to want to have those set up already in your bag, like organized for that timeline. If you're, going to start with flash because it's a low lit inside getting ready space, then you're going to want to have your flash on hand instead of like out in your other bags with your reception stuff or like whatever that looks like. So you're going to organize your bag to the best way that it's going to suit that wedding day and your workflow.
So important. And the only way to do that is by reviewing your timelines.
Period. Review all your information.
Review it and get to know it very well. I will be honest, this is a really big pet peeve of mine, is when I get the timeline at the last minute. That is such a pain in the butt because I'm the videographer, right? I'm not the photographer who builds their own timeline or has more access to the planner that time or the couple. And that is one thing that's super annoying. But when I have that timeline, I'm looking for the timeline, the reception layout, the ceremony layout, because I'm looking to see where I'm going to set my tripods, how I'm going to communicate that with my team, how I'm going to set up my lighting for reception. And then also see like what's the flow of the day is going to look like. Having the flow of the day lets me prepare prior. Are we having a first look? Where's the location? Where are we going to be doing that? Preparing for speeches. Or, hey, are we going to be separated at the same time between me and my team? And how can I best prepare whether or not I need them with me or to be somewhere else? And that is huge.
Yeah, that's a huge thing for video too, especially with like reception layouts. Like for photographers, I feel like we don't need that as much. But for video, it's huge because you need to figure out where your lighting is going to go, where your tripods for your extra cameras for speeches are going to go, and all of that stuff. But yeah, that's huge. But moving on to like timeline stuff, I am a timeline girly pop, so I always make sure that I'm working on the timelines with my clients like at least 2 to 3 months before the wedding day because things change so often and wedding days are so like I'm going to add this in at the last minute or I want to do this now or this or whatever. The wedding industry is constantly changing, hence the timeline's going to change or the day flow is going to change. So like being as like on top of it as possible with my clients is so huge for me. Like, hey, I'm on the same page as you, and I always want to stay that way.
And that's huge. And one question I would suggest to ask the planner or the couple before the final timeline, because timelines can only give you so much information, and sometimes timelines are designed where they'll leave out some information so that the groom doesn't know about it. So like any surprises, make sure you ask this question like, hey, is there going to be any surprises during the ceremony or the reception that I should know about that's not listed on the timeline? That way you're prepared, because there are times where maybe a bride might be doing a dress change, or maybe she's going to be cutting her hair during reception time.
Yeah,
literally,
that trend has been crazy.
It's happened. Or is the groom going to pick up the mic out of nowhere and start singing? Like, these are important information that we should know about. And so ask that question, even if it's not on timeline, because sometimes people are planning behind the scenes and they're just not saying it because they don't see it in front of them and they forget to communicate it.
Right.
And so it's huge.
Check in with your planners, check in with the other vendors that are going to be there. But another huge one is check in with your team too, your second shooter that you have coming for that day, or, whatever that looks like. Make sure that they're on the same page as you as well. And
that important part is communicating also the deliverables that the client is going to be receiving, so that you can communicate that with the team. That way, like, hey, for example, they're getting a full ceremony. So it's so important to keep on recording. Don't stop any breaks or anything like that. They're getting a documentary edit. So it's like, hey, I want you to record much longer than we normally would. But it's because they're having a documentary edit, and that's a different type of edit that requires more footage. And so to be able to deliver that, we need more footage and keep on recording. So confirm your deliverables prior as well. Like, what are you promising your couples, making sure that they're getting that, that you communicate that with your team. That way they know exactly, like, hey, this is very important. We can't just be moving tripods or moving, freely everywhere for certain angles and stuff, and just making sure that that's locked and set on point.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now you've charged your gear, it's all packed in your bag, and you've reviewed all of the information. You've checked in with your team, you've checked in with the other vendors there. Now we want you to turn your brain off for the rest of the day. I want you to trust your preparation and stop overthinking.
Trust the process and everything that you put into the day. Just relax.
Step away.
Do something that's enjoyable to you. That way you can feel fresh and be ready for that day for the couple. And again, you created all these systems and all these checks and balances. That way you can feel comfortable and confident in what you're doing.
Yeah. Avoid the little tweaking and micromanaging, and honestly, the perfectionism that comes with being a business owner, which is hard to do. It's hard to let your brain slip away like that. But wedding days are so unpredictable. So trust your preparation, trust your skills and your experience, and you will do great.
You'll be fine. Another big one has to be is prayer. For us as Christians, that's like an added bonus right there, because it gives us the opportunity, one, to thank the Lord for the opportunity that we have in front of us, so we would serve the couple and do our best for them. But it allows us just to be in gratitude.
Absolutely.
And reframing the mindset of, like, when you work a 9 to 5, people will be like, oh, I don't want to clock in, I don't feel like working. But when you work for yourself and you're doing something that you love and you're passionate about, and you literally have the opportunity every weekend or every other weekend to do it, it comes with a sense of gratitude. Like, I can't wait to be able to film this wedding and do something that I love for this couple.
It's such a special day. It's such a big day for someone's family and someone's life. Like, it's so important to have gratitude, to be even like a speck into their big day. You know what I mean? Like, to just be so thankful to get to have the opportunity to capture someone's big day like that. It's just so beautiful. And I always pray in the car too on wedding days for just guidance throughout the whole day too. Like, I'll literally be like, God, guide my eyes, like, help me find the best moments that this couple is going to want to look back on. That's one of my biggest things.
I'm always praying for, Lord, allow the couple to have an amazing day.
Yep.
That they're able to enjoy with their family and friends. I pray for that my gear can work properly, that my creativity can flow, and that I can just be an asset for the couple throughout the day, that it'll be memorable for them, and just know that, okay, they felt a different presence on their wedding day besides just what they was expecting to experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And even for me too, like wedding days are so nerve-wracking, and like I still go into wedding days like super anxious too, just like nervous, and you're excited nervous, but you're also nervous because it is such a big day. So, you know, praying away those anxiety, those negative thoughts too is huge.
That's huge. You can let it go.
Let it go.
And have fun.
Let it go.
I can't sing like
Release
Ash, so
it to God.
I can't do it. But yeah, let it all go. Give it on to the Lord. And if you still get stressed before the wedding day, it's more like jitters than it is of being stressed about like,
right,
am I going to do good, right? Like, no, you've already done everything necessary to prepare yourself for this wedding day the day before and doing the necessary steps so that you can be successful on this wedding day.
Absolutely. And that's about all that we have time for on this episode of the 2717 podcast. We are so thankful that you guys tuned in again. Remember that you are not just a business owner, you are a storyteller, you are a creative, and to trust your prep. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching and listening. Javi, where can they find you?
At sundial.creatives and at sundialcreatives.com.
And you can find me at Ashley Jade Photography LLC on Instagram and TikTok and on my website. And then you can find us at the 2717 podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and at 2717 podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I don't know where you listen to your podcasts, but we're on all of them. So you should try something new next time. We'll talk to you guys in the next one. Goodbye.